Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyane. It was an explosive day in the Pretoria High Court yesterday. It's never been quite a day like it. It ended up with Absalom Zungu having to tell the court that I am being tortured, just like the police used to torture me. That is what it took for this man to stand by the nose that he wanted to testify about. And that is how he won the battle yesterday. Because it all started with an objection by Balu, as Zungu referred to notes in his possession. Balu's objection was around the fact that he cannot be allowed to use those notes, and that he can only be allowed under the circumstances to refresh his memory by reference to the statement that he had made, that exhibit. Let me just get the exhibit number for you. I think the exhibit number, anyway, let's leave the exhibit. But that statement was supposed to have been made on the 17th of November 2019. This is the very statement that Absalom Zungu is saying Kininda forged. And Baloyi was suggesting, ridiculously so, that the only statement that Absalom Zungu should be allowed to refer to is that same statement that is here before the Pretoria High Court to denounce. What a ridiculous and ill-thought suggestion. And Baloyi also went on to say, well, if there had been any amendments to that statement, he can also refer to those amendments or those additional things that might be added, that might have been added to his statement. It was all ridiculous because in the first place, Absalom Zungu is disputing this statement, this affidavit he is supposed to have sworn to. He is denouncing it. He is standing there denouncing it. How on earth does anybody, then make a submission that Absalom Zungu must refer to that same statement which is denouncing as a forgery before the Pretoria High Court? It was quite ridiculous because it all started with Advocate Nisi taking Absalom Zungu through the notes that he had made. And Absalom Zungu categorically told the court that he had had no assistance in the making of those notes, and that none of the defense counsels had had sight of those notes, and that he had compiled those notes simply because as a man who is aging or getting aged, he's no longer as young as he used to be, and was simply using those notes to refer to some of the things that had happened in this matter. So there was really nothing wrong with using those notes. There was really nothing wrong with using those notes. But Baloyi, somehow was uncomfortable with those notes. So at that stage, it got so heated that Absalom Zungu then said, well, if that is the way it is going to be, if I'm going to be tortured like that, like I've been tortured by the police, I might as well, give in to this abuse and just leave my notes where they are. because Baloyi was insisting that the prosecution must also have access to those notes. Now, the problem is, what problem did Baloyi have with those notes? Because Absalom Zungu was simply saying, I've made some notes. I have prepared some notes so that he can give the Pretoria High Court a full picture of what he knows as he testifies. So one of the things that he was going to use were those notes, right? And there was that he saw nothing improper in the use of those notes that the prosecution was so worried about. So here we are now seeing the court also. I was worried because I saw the court, sort of raise his eyebrows to say to the prosecution without the prosecution saying anything. The court sort of on behalf of the prosecution said, the Judge Ratamkwatne said, prosecution, well, what do you say about these notes? And of course, George Baloyi conveniently stood up to say, oh, we're just about to make that objection. When he was not making the objection. In fact, it was the court that directed him to the fact that, what do you think about the use of the notes by Absalom Zungu? And Baloyi pretended that, he was just about to make that objection. And there was no indication that he was about to make any objection. So that is the way it is going. Absalom Zungu has completely shattered the prosecution case. He has simply rubbished the prosecution case. He has exposed it, like I indicated yesterday, for what it is. Right? Because remember, as I round up, that the source of the information that Zungu Jr., Constable Zungu, tendered before the Pretoria High Court was based on the fact that it came from his father. It was supposed to be hearsay evidence from his father. Now, the maker, the maker of this that statement could not have been admitted without the maker of the statement coming forward to testify. Of course, we all know and you can all see it all over the place that there was no way the prosecution was going to call Absalom Zungu. Because they must have got wind of, the viral, and explosive disclosures that he made over social media and everywhere else, denouncing that affidavit. So conveniently for themselves, they decided not to call him. But now he's spilling the beans for all of us to see, because he's saying it was a forgery. And as he continues to testify before the Pretoria High Court, you get a sense of Baloyi's frustration. And I don't know what to call Judge Rata's, demeanor. But he also seems to be uncomfortable with the disclosures that Absalom Zungu is making. And this is just the sort of thing that people have been waiting all along to hear. That this case was fabricated to falsely implicate the accused persons in the commission of the crime for which they stand accused. So let us see what happens this morning. Absalom Zungu is still on the stand, and it is going to be very interesting because he's got a lot to tell. So let us just wait and see how the proceedings go this morning, and in a later edition, I assure you I'll bring you an update on the latest developments in the trial. Having said that, let me thank you for watching this video. Let me thank you for all the views, subscriptions, and shares that I'm seeing. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you very much.